one of the most dangerous things that can hold you back in your life if you don't get this fixed and sorted out. You need to handle this. You need to take care of this. Otherwise, you're going to keep hitting the wall time and time again. And you'll be very frustrated because it's almost like this invisible ceiling. You know, you're trying to improve, you're trying to get better, you're trying to reach your goals, but somehow it just doesn't seem to click, you know? Every time you're taking some action, every time you try to stick to some habits and you fall off, you know, you give up and you don't understand, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep going back to the old routine? And it's because of your wiring. It's because of your conditioning. This is usually introduced to us through our parents, you know, our legal guardians, the family closest to us, the people that we grow up with, the people that really raise us. They pretty much put this in our head. They program us. They make us act a certain way without us even ever realizing it. We think we have free will. We believe that, you know, we're able to make our own decisions and our own choices in life, and that's absolutely true. But your unconscious, which is that part of your mind that you're not actively using, not the one where you can think thoughts, not the one where you can actually rationalize and make a decision. It's all the emotional stuff. It's all the crazy stuff that's going on underneath that we're not aware of. And this is an autopilot that's always running in the background. And no matter what you're doing, it's always there, always functioning, taking in information, putting out a certain vibe, a frequency, if you like, and many times holding you back from actually accomplishing your goals. So what's an example of this? Well, perhaps, you know, you really want to lose some weight or get into better shape. Maybe you want to put on some muscle and start to really look good. You know, I've lost over 70 pounds of fat, so I know what this experience actually is like. Well, maybe you try. Maybe you go on a diet. Maybe you go exercise. Maybe you attempt to, you know, hit the gym 5 times a week. But for some reason, you start skipping a couple of days, you start going back to old eating habits, you know, before you know it, you're right back where you started, maybe even worse. And you get angry at yourself, frustrated. You're like, why am I not pulling through? And you try to force yourself. You know, you get really, really aggressive. You say, come on, let's do this. That doesn't work either. You're right back at it again, into the old routine, the old loop, the old patterns. Maybe you try a different approach. Maybe you actually take care of yourself more. Maybe you start thinking about your future, your family, how this affects everybody around you. Maybe what it would be like for you to finally achieve that ideal shape. And you start visualizing the goal. Now you're really motivated. Except you go out, try it again, and nope. Right back into the old routine, right back into the old habits, right back to where you started once more. And now finally it's give up time, right? Because you've tried everything, haven't you? You've tried it all. And whether this is with exercise or trying to improve your career and your finances, whether it's your personal relationships, you feel like you've tried everything, but you haven't. You're actually stuck in a loop and you keep doing the same thing again and again. It just looks slightly different every time. And a lot of people are experiencing this and they don't even realize. You know, they keep feeling like they can't find the right partner. They keep feeling like they can't lose weight no matter how hard they try. They keep feeling like they can't build a successful business because they're just not meant for it, or somehow luck isn't on their side, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It's simply your conditioning and your wiring. Because if you've been taught to think a certain way, that's what you're going to keep doing. That's your autopilot. That's running 90% of the time in the background, making decisions for you. You're not conscious, present, and aware and alert all the time throughout the day, the entire day. A lot of it is up to that unconscious. And if that's programmed like this, well, you know, yes, I want to achieve this goal, but I can do that later. You know, it's fine. Right now, I just really want to eat this food. I want to feel good right now. We should feel good right now. It's important that we feel good, you know, enjoy life because you only live once and you should have the pleasure. Then of course, you're not going to go for the delayed gratification of finally being in peak state physically, like really looking the way you want, feeling incredible about yourself. You're not going to wait for that if you can eat the cake right now. If your mind is set on, I need to feel good now, I need to feel good now, I need to feel good now, that's all you're going to experience. You'll feel good right now, and then later you're stuck with the same result, you're stuck in the same spot, and your life just isn't moving forward, and you start to get depressed, you start to feel like you can't do anything, and of course you give up eventually. But even if you try to set big goals, even if you try to visualize, even if you try to do all these things, if you don't change the fundamental wiring, if you don't shift your entire approach, if you don't change the foundation, if you just break down the walls and build some new ones, if that foundation is still broken, you're still gonna have trouble. Doesn't matter if you exchange the roof, if the foundation is rotten. You're falling through the floor every time you try to take a step up. Your staircase is breaking down because the foundation that's supposed to hold it up, it's just not happening. And the only thing for you to do is to sit down and rewire yourself. To finally take care of this thing that for so many years, your entire life, it's been running you. And it's made you hit the wall, hit that glass ceiling that you keep experiencing. Now finally you're gonna address it. So how do you do that? This is something that I actually love to work on with clients, and it's something I'm very, very passionate about because it changed my life. I was wired, I was very, very overweight. I was playing video games all day. I was miserable. I couldn't talk to people. I had social anxiety, right? All of this wiring because all I knew was get pleasure now, avoid pain, stay quiet, stay under the radar, be careful. And of course, that keeps you in a certain loop, and that keeps you in a certain lifestyle, and that keeps you stuck. So you have to change those fundamental beliefs. Well, first you have to identify, what is my fundamental belief? What do I really value? What am I trying to go after? Like, what is it that I desire? What motivates me? What drives me? And for a lot of people, that fundamental wiring says, well, avoid pain. That's one of the number one drives. Imagine that. Imagine if you lived your life just avoiding pain. Well, that means I never want to give a public presentation because what if people laugh at me? It means I can never go up to somebody new and talk to them because what if they don't accept me, don't validate me, they don't love me, then I'm worthless. That also means that, of course, you can never take a risk in your life. You can never try to grow because what if it doesn't work out? You gotta avoid the pain of disappointment. You gotta avoid the pain of what if I set too high expectations or goals and then they don't get met and I don't achieve them. Now I feel miserable because, I don't want to feel disappointed. So you're avoiding pain, avoiding pain, avoiding pain. I don't want to end up like my parents. That's another one. I don't want to end up broke. And so you're trying to stay away from broke, but you'll never get wealthy that way because you're trying to run away from being poor. You'll probably just barely scrap by. And that's your aim, just trying to not be poor. You're not trying to be a multi-millionaire or a billionaire or financially independent and free for the rest of your life. You're trying to not be broke. And what that fundamental belief does is it drives your everyday action. No matter how hard you try to lose weight, if your fundamental belief says, I want pleasure now, you can never achieve it because you're always going to be lazy. You're always going to avoid the pain, right? Because there it is, lose the weight, feel great. But no, that takes time, that takes work, that takes effort, that takes energy and consistency and time and dedication. And those aren't your values. Your value is avoid pain. And if you want to change that, once you've identified it, you have to actually exchange it for a better belief. What's the new belief? What do you want? What's the new belief? What do you want to swap this out for? Because you can't just remove it and leave an empty space. It's got to be taken up by something. So if you want to get rid of avoiding pain as your fundamental driving force, the fundamental belief, maybe you would use something like seeking pleasure. Changing avoiding pain for seeking pleasure. These are two basic driving forces in human beings. You could just swap one for the other. They're just as strong, just depends on which one you're wired to be following the most. If you swap it to seeking pleasure, what pleasure are we talking about? Instant gratification, instant solutions, instant fixes, which never really lead to anything significant, or a long-term result. My personal value is I want long-term, amazing, incredible results. I want to, over the long haul, I want to really see my life improve. I want to see that J curve, I want real measurable progress over a longer period of time. I don't care if I don't see it tomorrow. Doesn't really matter to me. But over the course of the next couple of years, I want to see significant growth. Even if it's very minor day by day, even if I can't notice it day by day, I want to look back at my life 10 years from now and think, wow, I'm an entirely different person. I'm that much better. I've grown 1,000,000 times over. And that's how I feel about my life, because I made that exact swap in values. So I'm not just telling you this because it's a great idea and this is some coaching philosophy that's magic and, it's all great to talk about. I use this. I went from being overweight. I went from being poor, broke, being a janitor, to living my dream, doing what I love, running an amazing business, being in great shape, having amazing relationships. All of that is possible for you as well, of course. Anybody can have that. It's all out there, go get it. But you got to change that fundamental wiring, because if you keep coming from the place of trying to avoid pain, how can you ever experience anything great in your life? I mean, only if you run into it by accident when you're running away from pain. That's the only way you would ever have a good experience, if that's how you're wired. So once you exchange that belief, it's just about reaffirming it. That's the final step, really. It's just about reaffirming it with some positive reference experiences. So show yourself, hey, when I delay my gratification over the course of a week, look, I went to the gym, I ate healthy, it's been a week, I lost a couple of pounds. Incredible! Wow, what happened? It's actually possible, it's working. Wait a second, I worked on my finances, I sat down, I started setting some goals around my career, I started developing some new skills. I gave it 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, a year. Wow, something changed for me. My life is improving. Incredible. And now that belief is reinforced. It says, wow, every time I take my time, I work on this, I dedicate myself, I stay consistent, things click for me, it works out. I get the results that I've always desired. And all that comes from is changing that fundamental wiring, that fundamental belief. Because that's underneath, that's the driving force behind everything you're doing. You want to stop hitting that glass ceiling? Are you tired of failing over and over again in your life? Make this change. And I swear to you, your life will never be the same. And for me, this really, it's everything, It's a big part of the picture when it comes to really, really getting to where you want to be. Feeling happy, feeling fulfilled, achieving the kind of results that you want. It's really at the core of everything. And that's why I wanted to share it with you today. And if you enjoyed it, I hope you drop a like. Make sure you subscribe if you're new to the tribe. And also, drop a comment down below. What's your exchange of beliefs? What are you swapping out? What's the old one? What's the old pattern? What's the old wiring? What's the old fundamental driving force? And what are you changing it for? It could be anything. It could be going from, I don't want to be broke, to, I want to be wealthy. Or I'm becoming wealthy. I am acquiring wealth. It's flowing to my life. No matter what you pick, swap out the old dysfunctional one and get something that will finally motivate and push you, actually even pull you to success, to your goals, and to the life that you truly desire.